an unprecedented home World Cup. How are Japan looking, and just what is it that makes them the fan favourite team that everyone but Scotland wants to see do well? It's a simple formula. Japan are always underdogs. Despite qualifying for every World Cup, until the 2015 tournament, Japan had only ever won one game, a 1991 thrashing of Zimbabwe, and if you want an idea as to why that Japan team didn't do well in their other games, they scored 9 tries that day, but only 2 conversions. Japan then drew with Canada in 2007 and 2011, both games taking late kicks to tie things up. The Japan teams of 1987 to 2011 were very easy to love. They were incredibly entertaining to watch, and they never considered seppuku, fighting hard in every battle until the end, no matter how outmatched they may be. This was reason enough to love Japan, and then, in 2015, the fighting paid off as Japan achieved the greatest victory in the history of the Rugby World Cup, even greater than the time Italy beat Russia 53-17 in 2011. Despite being 500-1 outsiders, Japan defeated 2-time champion and rugby's own giant enemy crab, South Africa. This launched a hugely spirited campaign in which Japan captured the public's imagination. I had friends with no interest in rugby tuning in to watch Japan's games, texting me about their every try and asking what the hell a bonus point was. They beat Samoa, they beat the USA, and then they lost to Scotland just 4 days after their famous win, meaning they became the first team to ever go out in the pool stages despite winning 3 games. But it's not just their willingness to fight that endears everyone towards Japan, it's their willingness to play. Japan play, and have pretty much always played, possibly the most beautiful rugby of any team in the world. We're talking 70s Wales, 05 All Blacks, poolside Tommy Bowe levels gorgeous. I mean, look at this try against Wales from 2007. That's 31-year-old lock, beleaguered firefighter and general all-round 98 cap legend of Japanese rugby, Hitoshi Ono, making the initial burst before linking up with support. And then look at it, it's incredible vision, it's great skills, the passing, and then it's Kazuki Endo on the end to run it in, to finish it, in a try that reminds me I'm a rugby fan before I'm a Wales fan. However, whereas that famous 05 All Blacks was about perfecting the unexpected, and that classic Cymru side about genius improvisation, Japanese rugby is traditionally more about dedicated precision. We're talking craft work to Dan Carter's Bowie and Gareth Edwards' Miles Davis. Whereas set moves off scrums and lineouts are almost a bonus part of most team traditions, Japanese rugby is built around them like no other rugby culture. Perhaps the perfect example is this try from 2016 against Scotland. Whereas most teams would set into position to clear the ball, Japan run a set move. Taking advantage of Scotland dropping players back to cover a potential kick, Japan loop their primary kicker, Kosei Ono, around the secondary kicker, Tatekawa, drawing the entire defence in on their most likely sources for a clearance. Instead, the ball goes wide and then is recycled quickly, with backs waiting in position. The break is made again, and eventually Kaito Shigeno is on hand to score the try. However, as you can imagine, running moves like this takes time, practice and dedication. Whilst in charge of the team, Eddie Jones praised the players as being easily the most programmable and amongst the hardest working he'd ever coached. Part of the reason Japan under Jones worked so well was because he bought into their culture, he embraced Japan, but introduced contemporary and overseas rugby thinking. And for similar reason, whilst there may have been higher profile candidates, I don't think Japan could have made a better appointment to replace him than former Highlanders boss Jamie Joseph. Undeterred by the fact the plural in his team's name betrayed the fact there can be only one, Joseph took the Hilly Boys from 14th in a 15-team league to champions for the first time ever in just 2 years. And whilst Japan's results the last 3 years have been somewhat spotty, Joseph has managed some very impressive results against notably bigger nations. They came very close against Wales in 2016, only denied by a late drop goal by Sam Davis, who's a rare case of a man that manages to be lanky without being tall. In 2017, Japan managed to draw against France in Paris in just another game that will come up in court when people tried to pinpoint where it all began after Guillem Guerrada goes on a 16-person killing spree after France inevitably lose to the USA. And last year, they beat Italy and were ahead at half-time against England before the infallible Owen Farrell came on, knowing what his dad would say over Sunday dinner if his son had lost to Japan. They also took part in one of the most entertaining games of last year, as they put 31 points past New Zealand and showed just how exciting the likes of Kenki Fukuoka can be when they get hold of the ball. However, the length of his tenure, Joseph has known it was all leading up to the most important event in Japanese rugby history, a home World Cup. And so, knowing the time, practice, dedication Japan required to be at the top of their natural game, Joseph took a huge risk. There was an odd minor story last year, as Jamie Joseph appointed himself the head coach of the Sunwolves A team. Not the Super Rugby side, the Sunwolves, their reserves. It was something I looked at kind of went, oh, that's weird. and then just moved on. However, it's turned out to be an ingenious decision that is absolutely crucial to the way Japan have prepared for this World Cup. Last December, Joseph drew up an initial preliminary World Cup squad, and then he went and signed as many of those players as possible to the Sunwolves reserve team. The players still contracted with Japanese top league teams were withdrawn to join the Sunwolves A team on a training-only basis. This meant, with only 2 exceptions, Joseph will have had his international team together training every day as a unit for almost a full year by the time the World Cup kicks off. Now, Super Rugby doesn't have a formal A-League akin to the Premiership, just a handful of independently organised fixtures by those teams themselves. This meant Joseph had complete control over how many games his players played. They only had a fixture when Joseph felt they needed a hit out, and if he got the feeling that one player needed more game time, he could promote them to the Sunwolves first 15 for a few weeks and pit them against international quality opposition. This gives Japan the same familiarity advantage that Argentina have, who spend all season playing together as Jaguares, but without the battered bodies and jet lag involved in playing 19 games of top flight rugby across 3 continents in just a few months. Joseph has been able to train and condition his Japan team with the time that every test coach wants, but none of them ever receive. Whilst this lack of game time is a huge risk, it certainly didn't show in this year's Pacific Nations Cup. Japan not only won the title, but they won every game by multiple scores. Their comprehensive deconstruction of a Fiji team with basically the same personnel that took apart France in their previous game was a huge warning shot to everyone at the World Cup. Japan are not content to just be good hosts. They will be that as well, but they're also here to play. Joseph's Japan played last month exactly what you'd want from a dream Japan team. They play with an incredible cohesion, a product of their months out. Each player seems to know each other player's every instinct, and this means every break or cheeky attack and kick is anticipated, and the other players are able to easily follow up. Japan's game is as efficient as it is because they play simply faster than anyone else. But whereas Fiji's pace is a product of their genetic freakery and insane talent, Japan's is built on work and precision. This is thanks largely to their trio of excellent scrum halves. Fumi Tanaka is already a cult hero across the rugby world, but I'm a huge fan of their other 2 choices. The aforementioned Kaito Shigeno